Hello, I am Parperway. This video is for Agma Schwa's cursed conlink circus thing, again. Today, I'm going to tell you about Etiola Rwickfi, the language in which you make several inane statements about the spin of nearby electrons every second. In Etiola Rwickfi, everything that it is possible to say is a valid, meaningful, and unique phrase or sentence. Now, by anything that it is possible to say, I mean making noise vocally, so sorry mister, and fans of manual clicks. Now here's the phonology. You may have gathered that this is just the IPA. Although the IPA doesn't show all phonemes, this chart is more accurate, though it still isn't all of the phonemes, since they can have different tones and voicings and stuff, and most of these can be geminated if you try hard enough. But by this point I think I've lingered long enough on the fact that this language includes all phonemes. Etiola Rwickfi consists of 26 graphemes, those being A to Z. So this is where they fall. You may have gathered, once again, that this is not every phoneme that has a corresponding grapheme. It is, in fact, possible for every phoneme to map onto any grapheme, and your choice in the matter encodes evidentiality. To do that, you use this specific table and count the vertical and horizontal displacement between the phoneme that is pronounced and the phoneme that corresponds to the grapheme that you actually mean. Then take 2 to the power of the horizontal displacement times 3 to the power of the vertical displacement. That number is your certainty that the information conveyed by that grapheme is correct, with 1 being the standard amount of certainty. Adding any diacritics just adds context according to this table. Many, if not most of these combinations are impossible to pronounce, but that doesn't matter since I'm only trying to give a unique meaning to each pronunciation, not the other way around. Keep in mind that these only add the amount of evidentiality to the information given by the single letter which they are applied to, and not across the whole word. Etiola Rwickfi has no base vocabulary. Every word is derived. This concludes the vocabulary section. So grammar. A word in Etiola Rwickfi is made up of 3 segments. The last letter tells you what part of speech it is, and the first 3 letters give general information specific to that part of speech, as shown in these tables. Adjectives and adverbs are constructed from nouns and verbs, so use the same tables. For instance, take the word tinkzawa. The final A tells us that it is a subject which is not dependent on another subject. The T tells us that it is the third person singular inanimate. The N tells us that it is a man-made solid concrete object which has some value but is not long and skinny. The C tells us that the object exists currently and has a mass of around 10 kilograms, is operational, and is not edible. The letters between the first 3 and the final letter always come in pairs and add more specific detail as seen in these tables. The first letter in a pair indicates the category and the second indicates the attribute within that category. The categories for nouns are height, quantity, value, origin, country, name, origin, city, color, secondary color, temperature, medical condition, occupation, residence, country, postal code, type of locomotion or building, purpose, food group, state of repair, relation, material, age, secondary material, education level, case, current activity, current location, and topology. The categories for verbs are duration, repetition, price, place of invention, name, outcome, aspect, mood, temperature reached, orderer, habitual occupation, absolute location, postal code, type of energy used, purpose, witness, state of repair, type of transport, material used, time of invention, starting topology of object, education level required, level of skill and care used, ending topology of object, relative location, and morality. The T in tinkzaoa indicates that the next letter will describe the topology of an object, and the following A indicates that the object is topologically equivalent to a sphere. Similarly, the OW indicates that the object's purpose is for storage. Thus, it becomes clear that tinkazoa refers to a moderately heavy container. There are exceptions to virtually all the rules I just stated. For starters, it is possible for a word to have fewer than 4 letters. In that case, the general informational letters are to be ignored, starting with the last. Also, the letters in the center of the word don't always come in pairs. In some categories, such as country of origin and case, there are subtables that you visit, resulting in an indivisible trio of letters. And the name category is always surrounded by E's and doesn't follow the rules like the others. This, of course, creates some ambiguity, which is fine, as the mission of this language is to have each phrase have a unique meaning, not each meaning have a unique phrase. It is also possible to say a word that does not have a number of letters that adds up properly. That is what we call a non-congruent word, because you disregard the final letter and then treat it as a noun with an unspecified purpose. If that still doesn't work, it becomes what we call a non-congruent verb, which is a verb with unspecified purpose, and you can then start removing the general informational letters. Side note, when I say remove or disregard a letter, I mean treat it as one of the medial specific detail letters instead of the hard-coded general informational letters. You may have noticed that it is possible to end up with words that are entirely consonants. In those cases, you are permitted to add a schwa, which is not written, anywhere you want in the word. There is a problem, though. 2 different people could choose to put schwas in different places, and this could result in 2 different pronunciations having the same meaning. To rectify this, Whenever you include an extra schwa, you are explicitly saying, I believe the electron nearest to me has a positive spin, and whenever you choose not to put a schwa between two letters, where you could, you are saying, I believe the electron nearest to me has a negative spin. There is necessarily free word order, however, since subjects and verbs can have info about their objects baked in and vice versa, this doesn't actually create that much more ambiguity than there already was. You may be thinking that this language must have information density rivaling Ithquil, and while that may be technically true, the set of things that are efficient to say in Etiola Rwickfi has very little overlap with the set of things you might actually want to say. Remember that a significant portion of this density goes to making non-germane predictions about electrons. Here's the translation. Ba hukupubuk absdilk tidword ya kukwebibyok ta abstuk kekwopdyuk ba fotvibia tab eteolu ta hapilvi zigvibu ba eubyabzavmk absdrum. All the links are in the place where links go, all the documentation and stuff just on my website. There isn't much documentation this time because a lot of the things that you would normally have with a language, like a word list and a phonology chart, aren't really necessary for this one. It's just literally the grammar and nothing else. The grammar comes first. Everything else is just dead to me. You can tell this part is unscripted because I sound a lot less coherent. Bye.